it's very rare that I play 10 new video game releases in a calendar year, so it surprised the heck out of me when I realized I had played more than 10 in 2024. Usually my time gaming is mostly spent on my backlog, but somewhere between Dark Souls 2, Spider-Man 2, and all my trophy hunting streams, I managed to play almost 20 new games. So here they are, and while I'm at it, why don't I walk you through my top 10 favorite games of 2024. Number 10, Sonic X Shadow Generations, published by Sega and developed by Sonic Team. Partially a port of a decently good Sonic game, but more surprisingly a pretty darn good set of new levels 13 years later. The Shadow Generations levels feel like a nostalgic look back at an era people used to call modern Sonic. Sonic Frontiers moved the series forward after the Abysmal Forces, but Shadow Generations not only makes these types of levels seem exciting again, they are also some of the best designed in the series. Sonic Team also found a way to more balance the game length too. Usually these boost type of Sonic games have to have additional gameplay content that's slower and reuse as many assets as possible to ensure the game can't be beaten in a sitting. But Shadow Generations' open hub area is packed with enough stuff to do. It's a great pace to go from high energy levels to low tempo item hunting in the open hub. Number 9, UFO 50, published and developed by Mossmouth. UFO 50 is the type of game developers dream of making. A large collection of new games packaged together in an air of mystery that's sure to keep it in the conversation for years. Every one of these games could have been sold as their own title, and some of these games are big enough to warrant a price rivaling the releases of retro throwbacks from major publishers and indie teams. Every game has a unique concept to it it's almost shocking no one's thought of it before. Truly a game that will inspire developers, and one that made me realize there's still a lot more you can do with 2 buttons and a D-pad than I thought. Number 8, The Rise of the Golden Idol, published by PlayStack and developed by Color Gray Games. This one is cheating a bit for me because shortly before playing Rise of the Golden Idol, I played its predecessor, The Case of the Golden Idol. But this game takes the time-frozen, detective scene gameplay and goes further with more complicated concepts and a better woven storyline. In Rise of the Golden Idol, you're given a scene and need to piece together what happened or is happening, who killed who, and how this is related to the previous scenes you've solved. Nearly every level made me feel smart once I've solved it without feeling the urge to reach for hints or brute force the answers. It's a hard feat to make puzzles that are just complicated enough to make me reach the fuzzy, frustrating parts of the edges of my mind before realizing something about the puzzle that satisfyingly snowballs to completion. Number 7, Concord, published by Sony Interactive Entertainment and developed by Firewalk. Surprise, a game seemingly no one else liked is in my top 10. Before the narrative of "this game is bad because reasons" emerged, I had pre-ordered it and had eagerly awaited it after the beta. I was looking for a multiplayer shooter and it genuinely seemed fresh to me. I put over 70 hours of actual game time in it before it shut down, so while we'll never know if its unique character switching, boost stacking mechanic was going to work out over time, I certainly found a lot of complexity and fun with what I played. It's certainly one of the most important game releases this year, and I'll miss it dearly. Number 6, Tekken 8. Published by Bandai Namco and developed by Tekken Project. Tekken 8 is the best feeling fighting game I have ever played. Every hit just hits. Tekken managed to find a way to turn the overly defensive gameplay that the series had been moving towards into an aggressive offensive tempo. Beyond the fights themselves, it feels rare for a game in this genre to feel like a massive value out the gate. A large roster of characters, stages, and modes make sure that the casual player has plenty to do, and the online netcode actually works well enough for competitive players to want to grind away. Plus, the long load times from prior titles are gone. Number 5. Helldivers 2, published by Sony Interactive Entertainment and developed by Arrowhead. I get to feel a little proud and big-headed about this one. Devin and I were actual fans of the first game and had planned to get it prior to launch. Then it came out and it seemed like the whole world understood how stupidly great it is to mow down giant bugs and accidentally airstrike your friends. It's a lean and straightforward live service game that gives me zero FOMO and does not try to make me feel bad for wanting to play it every day. Battle passes are permanent and actually unlock weapons and passive buffs. The currency used to buy them are plentifully found in missions for free, so it feels less like a battle pass and more like an unlock system. The entire gameplay revolves around crufty mechanics designed to get you to make frantic mistakes, and any game that can achieve player failure as a fun thing is special. Number 4. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, published by Square Enix and developed by Business Unit 1. People that know me would expect this game to be number 1, but I can't in good conscience put a game I haven't completed at the top of the list. Still, from what I played, it is everything a AAA adventure should be. A large story, deep core gameplay, and a ton of variety in its gameplay types. This isn't the first RPG to have a full card game in it, but the number of minigames and side quests that explore beyond its core action is great. This is one of the very few games of this generation that feels like a touchstone. Number 3. Astrobot, published by Sony Interactive Entertainment and developed by Team Asobi. The SOBs at Team Asobi actually did it. They made a platformer better than most, if not all, of the Mario games. Every level feels unique but restrained. Each level uses a power-up or unique mechanic, and rarely do things return. They could easily have farmed out multiple small levels per power-up to pad the length, but chose to make a small amount of deliberate levels. It feels a little like cheating to then also throw in 30 years of PlayStation history in the mix, with over 100 characters represented with themed bots, but considering some of the deep pulls they did, it didn't feel cheap at all. Having Kratos and Jack show up feels like a bare minimum, but then also having Mr. Mosquito and the father from Incredible Crisis also show up makes it look like they actually care. A more definitive example, the final level is scored not by a track from a PlayStation game, but from a Sega Saturn game, and the overwhelming majority of people playing Astrobot won't even know that game exists. Number 2. Balatro, published by PlayStack and developed by Local Thunk. At this point, you've probably heard everything there is to hear about Balatro, so all I'm going to say is that a game this beautifully designed by a single person can stand up against a game made by a 100+ person team and still win. Number 1. Animalwell, published by Big Mode and developed by Shared Memory. Speaking of games designed by a single person, Animalwell is hauntingly beautiful. It has some of the best pixel art I've ever seen in a video game because it succeeds in taking its pixels beyond the typical way retro throwback games render them. An excellent scanline effect and per pixel illumination makes it feel as if you're looking at a different kind of video game, one that hasn't been discovered yet. Presentation aside, it's a search action game that openly gives you the tools to sequence break sections and also has a 100% unique ability set in its items that almost all have hidden uses beyond the obvious. But the big part is that it's a puzzle game that operates on all 3 of the levels that players engage video games with. I'll explain the 3 levels a lot more in detail in another video, but to put it in perspective for Animalwell, there are puzzles and challenges you face on your way to rolling credits that are designed so that anyone playing can figure them out using the context of the mechanics of the game. Then, there are harder puzzles requiring to 100% the game that force you to think outside the box using logic and reasoning not explicitly presented in the game itself. Then, for those that want to know how the game works and delve even deeper, there are puzzles that require collaboration, an intense amount of math, and observations about how the game behaves you would normally take for granted. To tease a puzzle and spoil another, this is a game that knows if you have a printer connected to your PC, and a game that hopes you know what happens when you drown. Very rarely am I surprised by a search action game, and even rarer when the entire game itself is a surprise. In many ways, Animal Well feels like a true sequel to my favorite game of 2012, Fez. Well, there you have it, my top 10 games of 2024. You saw all the games I played this year, so you tell me, did I miss any great games? Let me know in the comments and subscribe to the channel so you can see all the new videos we plan to make in the new year. Thanks for watching, and as always, Video Games out.